Oh, what's good with y'all, man? It's your boy Tentos Fanto. Now, look, I'm making this video about why I stopped smoking weed. This is a question I got a lot because I was clearing out my Instagram DMs yesterday, and I'm gonna start answering a lot of questions, but in a video form, so I can give like a more in-depth response. So if you have any questions you want answered or whatever, just hit me on Instagram. Now, the reason I stopped smoking weed is it's a lot of different reasons. For one, I was trying to become self-reliant, right? I'm like 2-3 months sober, and I was trying to become self-reliant. And so to become self-reliant, you can't have any validation or your source of happiness being something that isn't like you, or at least that isn't sustainable. You know what I mean? Like a product of yourself. Like it needs to be sustainable. Like the Buddhists have a noble truth that cravings lead to suffering. The reason they say that is because you're putting value in something that's impermanent. And so you're bound to suffer. If the body wants these pleasures that are physical, that are temporary, so they're impermanent, right? The soul wants something that's eternal. And so the second that thing goes away, you're left with yourself. And so I was using weed and drugs and sex and masturbation as like a stress reliever, as a problem solver. Weed was like my problem solver. I felt stressed, I felt anxious, I felt depressed, then I would smoke. I would smoke and then it would go away. I would suppress it. But eventually you have to face the music. And as I matured and as I realized that on this spiritual journey, I realized, yo, I need to face the music eventually if I want to get better. It's like Alan Watts had this thing, it was like about karma. That whenever you owe people money, right? Say you owe people money in your neighborhood or your city, they're cool with you being there, right? As long as you're there and they can have you there and whatnot, you're not, like, you might be stressed, but the second you leave now, or you say you're gonna leave, you throw a party saying you're gonna leave, now they want their money instantly, right? They want their money because they want to get paid, and whenever you leave, they can't get paid. It's the same way with whenever I stopped doing all these bad things. The second I stopped, it's like with bad karma. This was his ideology with bad karma, right? That whenever you leave, obviously you have to pay all these debts, and so they're going to like come into your life. You're going to be more anxious because you haven't faced any of these problems. You've just been subduing them. That's all you've been doing. It's like whenever I used to pull weeds, right, in my yard. My dad used to tell me, well, you got to get it by the root, by the base, and get the root out, or else the weed will just grow back. Because like you take just out the stem, it will look fine, but the weed will just grow back, right? That's all that marijuana, any of these external forces, any of these external things are doing, is it's just getting rid of the stem. And the root's still there. It's going to come back. You have to face the music. And what I've been doing recently, too, I started to ask myself, literally whenever I feel anxious, depressed, angry, something, hold a grudge, I start judging, I literally sit there and ask myself, almost in a third person, like, yo, why? Why do you feel this way? Well, I feel it because I'm annoyed of this person. Why are you annoyed of this person? Well, this person this. And then you pinpoint it, bro, down to its root, because you literally can. That's the power that you hold. You can. But the thing with these drugs and all this is it's subduing that. It was my problem solver. I never think that it's okay for you to have, I guess, for you to rely on an external force to solve your problems. That's not a good look. That's not a good move. You should rely on yourself, because that's all you'll ever have. And the second that the drugs go away, the second anything external goes away, you're left with yourself. Ooh. You're left with yourself. And so how are you going to respond? You're not even going to know how to respond. It's like when a man has a girlfriend and he's high and mighty, and then his girl goes away, and then he's left in shambles because he was using her as a validation for his confidence. She was a part of him. And I don't want a part of me to be something that can disappear so quickly. You know what I mean? I don't want a part of me to be something that is so fragile that it'll just go away so quick. I want to be firm. I want to have a foundation. I don't want weed to be something that is like ingrained into me, or drugs or sex or any of this stuff to be something that's ingrained into me to the point that once it disappears, I don't even know who I am anymore. Because I was so reliant on weed, bro. I was reliant. I couldn't sleep without it. I couldn't sleep for months after I stopped, bro. Just recently, and my sleep's been amazing. Amazing, right? But for a long time, I couldn't play ball. My jump shot wouldn't hit if I wasn't high. I couldn't. My crossover was nasty whenever I didn't smoke, and not in a good way, right? I couldn't switch hands on a layup whenever I was not high. When I was high, I was locked down on defense. I saw the vision. I worked out and I felt it in my muscles, right? I was so reliant on this, man. I had to smoke to sleep. But the reason that, like, people use this as, yo, this is why you should smoke, but I did it to myself. I did it to myself. I started smoking and playing ball. Then I became reliant on this feeling, and I became comfortable, man. I became comfortable with this feeling of working out, of going to sleep, of eating while I was high, and then I just couldn't go back. It was that contrast, but I did it to myself. I did it to myself. And so I had to face the music. It was me. It's the balance of life. I did it to myself. I was up here. Now I got to get through it while I'm down here. I don't want to become... And the thing is, people will say that you can't become addicted to marijuana. Bro, my body was pretty reliant on it. Right? To the point where, like, certain aspects like sleep and eating and things that are like, I need to survive, like weed played a part in that. Weed had a role in deciding when I slept, of deciding what I ate, of deciding how I acted in public, of how my mind worked. And I didn't like that. I don't want anything to have a power over me. And so I stopped. I became sober. And that's not to say that I'll never smoke again. It's not to say I'll never have sex again. But for the time being, I'm rebuilding. I'm learning who I truly am. Right? And look, I've meditated and been in nature while high and whatnot. And it's amazing, right? It's amazing. But honestly, to me, man, the greatest high is life. Right? That was cliche. That was... But look, man, it's true. Honestly, I feel good right now. I really do. And right now I'm just rebuilding, and I'm trying to become not reliant on external forces, on external sources. I'm trying to be more internally based. Because I think as humans, that's why we're here. That's why we were born in our natural state. I wasn't high. In my natural state, I wasn't coked up. I wasn't drunk. Because this is my natural state. This is how I think. You know what I mean? And I've done things when I was drunk or high that I wouldn't do when I was sober, and that's how I know this is the real me. And I think that if you can balance it, then that's on you. That's your decision. That's why the title of the video is why I stopped and not why you should, because it's all a personal decision. Right? I'm not out here saying that you should. It's just my personal thing. People ask me this all the time. Why do you not smoke? Why'd you stop smoking? They say smoking isn't even that bad for you, yada, yada, yada. It really isn't. I really don't think... I mean, it's one of the best drugs out there for you, right? I mean, it is natural and yada, yada. They do some things to it, though, this medical marijuana and all this different stuff that I don't really completely trust. If I grew it myself, then I would smoke it every now and then maybe, but not every single day. I save money, and so far it's been awesome. My life, I've seen actual progress. When I used to smoke, I would get, I guess, like complacent, or not even complacent. I just get kind of lazy. That's kind of like the stereotypical pothead. I would get kind of lazy because I would wake up and I would smoke. And that morning blunt hits different, bro, but I would wake up and I would smoke. And I would feel good. And the rest of my day would be dictated by that, so I had to keep smoking to maintain. That's the thing, I was just trying to maintain. I would be stressed and I would smoke, and I wouldn't confront these demons that I had. Till eventually I realized I have to confront them for me to evolve. We're not here to just stay the same. If you're smoking every single day just to maintain, that's not good. You should never maintain. You know what I mean? I'm trying to grow, and so to grow, you have to face your demons. You have to face your trials. And for me, that was to become completely sober. I became completely sober. Honestly, I get better highs from meditation and from sitting in the sun than I did from smoking weed. Right? And I remember I used to dab, right? I used to dab. And if y'all have ever dabbed, it can get kind of crazy. You always have a point where you think you're about to die because your heart's about to beat out of your chest. But I used to always think when I was like crazy high, like, why do I do this to myself? Why? I'd be like getting paranoid. I'm like, why do I smoke? I'm never smoking again. I'd be crazy high. I'd be thinking, bro, I'm not going to smoke again. Why do I do this to myself? It was the same way whenever I used to jack off or have sex. I'd look at the girl, I'd look at the phone, or I'd look at my hand, or you know, and I'd be like, why'd I do it? Why do I keep doing this? What is the point? And then I circle right back around, and I feel the urge again, and I do it. And I do it, and the real me is sitting there saying, yo, why do you keep doing this? What is the point? You know what I mean? And that goes back, I had a theory. Well, not a theory, I read it. Or heard it. Something about that. But it wasn't me who came up with it. Somebody gave me the knowledge that whenever you act on like a temptation or whatnot, that you're actually feeling yourself, because that temptation goes away and you're left with yourself. That's why whenever you jack off or you have sex, you don't want to do it again. You've already done it. Some people can go some rounds, yes, but you look at your hand, you're like, dang, why'd I do it? Right? It's the same whenever you're high, you're like, why did I do it? Right? Or the morning after that you got drunk, you're like, why did I do it? It wasn't worth it, right? Everyone says the same thing. It wasn't worth it, right? You have a kid. It wasn't worth it. I know it wasn't worth it. I know it wasn't, because one little decision changed your life drastically. It wasn't worth it. Everyone knows it wasn't worth it. But the thing is that your body has a control over you, and you won't truly gain a control over your body until you've starve the flesh. You have to starve yourself. There's a quote somebody said, to gain knowledge, add something every day. To gain wisdom, remove something every day. That's true. Wisdom comes from finding out how far you can go. That's the thing with discomfort. That's the thing with like Wim Hof and Jesus and fasting and all these things where you're starving the flesh. You're strengthening yourself so that once you go back to regular scheduled programming, life is just easier, right? To me, life is just easier. I see life as a game, and I don't know if I can attribute it to me not smoking or to me meditating or my spiritual journey or whatever you want to call it, but I have stopped smoking, and I am seeing benefits, and I do feel more connected with a God, with myself, with life, right? I'm literally out here yelling, bro, I feel like. But, I mean, there's, like, hella kids around. But, I mean, they could get the knowledge, too. Because when I was a kid, people used to always tell me, don't smoke, don't smoke, don't smoke. And I was like, well, I'll smoke. And then I gave a little, and I smoked. Growing up, I always said I wouldn't smoke. I'm not a crackhead. I wouldn't smoke. And then I gave a little. And I chose to smoke. And then I smoked weed, and people tell me, well, you're rolling a tobacco leaf. You might as well smoke an e-cigarette. It's not much different. Then from there, it goes to, well, you might as well smoke a Black and Mild. You might as well smoke a Swisher, a yada, yada, yada. Because it's the same thing. It's a tobacco leaf. It's just tobacco. It's better than weed. Okay, and then it all gets blurred. You might as well smoke an e-cigarette. It's better than cigarette. No, smoke a cigarette. And then it's like, you might as well do cocaine. Tell me I'm lying. You might as well do ecstasy. You might as well. And then you're just in this position where you look at where you could have been or where you should be or where you once were, and you feel like it's way too far away. You feel like it's too far, and that's the devil's trick on you. He thinks it's too far away because it's slowly but surely you became accustomed to these things, right? It's like when if you put a frog in water, right? In boiling hot water, it'll jump out immediately. But if you put a frog in water and slowly boil it, it'll reach a point of boiling, and the frog will still be in there. It will still be in there because it becomes accustomed to its environment. We're the same exact way. Humans, we're the same exact way. You become accustomed to your environment. And you give a little and a little and a little. And the more you give, it's like you would never go from here to here, but you would go from here to here to here to here to here to here. And then you look back up here and you're like, how did I let myself go from here to here? And that's the devil. And your ego is going to tell you, well, it's impossible. You might as well just go hard now. You might as well. And this is why I tell myself, yo, I wasted away 18, 19 years of my life. I had to go through it. But now the next 60, 70, 80 are going to be amazing. There's no reason for me to waste 18. I realize it, 19 years. Now there's no reason for me to waste the next 70, 60. I need to rebuild. I need to face the karma. I need to face the actions that I chose. I understand that. That's the law of the universe. That's justice. I need to face it. Yes, I do. You know what I mean? But that's the devil, man. You can always go back from where you were. You ventured off on the path. You can get back on it. It's possible. I'm living proof. I'm a testament that you can. Okay? I'm a testament of God's grace. I'm a testament of anything, man. Law of attraction, testament of the universe, testament of everything, bro. I don't know. But I hope y'all got something out of this video, man. If you want anything else answered, DM me. But the gist of it is that I don't want to become reliant on an external substance. I want to become reliant on myself, self-reliant. That's a real confident man. That's a real successful person. I have my head on straight. I'm laser focused. Right? There's nothing else that's wandering, right? And it has to be in all aspects of your life, right? And you'll start to see a transition. I'll go to the gym every day. I eat healthy. I take cold showers. It's easy for me now because I have control over myself. I'm not saying, well, I'm going to smoke or I'm going to drink or I'm going to do this. No, I said I'm done. I told my body I'm done, and my actions were in line with my mentality because they have to be, or else you're not a man of your word. And if you're not a man of your word, then what are you? But I'll catch y'all, man. Rasfanto. Whoo.
March will mean 2 months off the pot. Tried this last year around March. I went through some stressful times and I went back to smoking weed. Now I'm just so